FM and all around the world on wbadl.org. This is NEWSLINK. Here are the top stories. Nigerian government foils a coup attempt early hours of Wednesday. Ivorian Parliament approves President Ouattara's proposed constitutional revision with overwhelming majority. National Coast Guard in Liberia rescues Chinese vessel in Sierra Leonean waters, apprehends 2 pirates after intense firefight.
On the 24th, the vessel was seen back from the VMS around the King Gray area heading towards south of Monrovia. So we also launched from our Freeport station and also launched from our Buchanan station to be able to have them in the queue to be able to submerge them.
And the Gambian President Barrow lauded the activities of the country's Human Rights Commission. Please stay with us for details of these stories and more.
Here is James Ajapon with NEWSLINK.
Many thanks for joining us. Now to our very first story. A report received earlier today states that there was a near coup attempt against the head of state of Niger, Mohamed Bazoum. This was revealed after roads leading to the Nigerian presidency were barricaded by the presidential guards. Describing the situation as confusing, a regional military source affirmed that there wasn't any exchange of fire, and several eyewitnesses have also confirmed that calm seemed to have returned around the presidential palace at around 8:30 a.m. However, a source closer to the presidency has said the head of state, Mohamed Bazoum, is safe and sound and is currently in protection by his security guards at his Niamey residence. According to reliable sources, Mohamed Bazoum had been considering replacing the current presidential guard headed by General Omar Chiani in recent times. As a reminder, officers attempted to overthrow Mahamadou Issoufou 2 days before Mohamed Bazoum's inauguration on March 31, 2021. This is not the first time that the military has threatened the Niger regime. In Senegal, the government on Tuesday addressed some pressing issues in the country. Among the challenges discussed was the concerning issue of irregular migration, which has tragically resulted in the loss of numerous lives over the past 2 months. The government addressed the decision to lift the police cordon around the residence of opposition politician Ousmane Sonko, as well as measures related to flood management in the country. Tofik Abdul Nasir completes the story.
In the latest tragedy on Senegal's irregular migration routes, the government spokesman Abdul Karim Fofana clarified that there were 16 deaths, contrary to the 18 deaths reported in the local press. The government, he said, has taken measures to assist the 3 survivors and the families of the victims, although specific details were not provided. Abdul Karim Fofana announced that numerous Senegalese migrants rescued off the coast of Morocco and Mauritania would soon be repatriated.
A delegation made up of officials from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Senegalese abroad, the Ministry of Health and Social Action, and the Ministry of Interior are on a mission to Dakar to assess the situation of the migrants currently there. The government would like to reassure the returning migrants that all measures will be taken to welcome them and accompany them back to their respective homes.
The government, he said, is set to approve a national strategy to combat irregular migration to Europe this week in response to concerns about the possible arrest of opposition politician Ousmane Sonko following the removal of the police cordon around his home. The government spokesman addressed the issue but did not provide further details.
Today,
there is no call for insurrection. There is no risk of public disorder, so there is no reason to restrict traffic in the city Kergorgi neighborhood. It's just a preventive measure, an administrative measure that has been lifted because there is no risk. And as I've always said, the questions concerning the unrest, the arrest, are all judicial matters that depend on the public prosecutor.
As the rainy season begins in Senegal, the Minister for Water and Sanitation discussed the measures being implemented to prevent flooding, including the construction of several water retention basins.
Tofik Abdul Nasir reporting there. President Alassane Ouattara's proposal to revise Côte d'Ivoire's constitution, initially adopted in 2016, has been approved on Tuesday by both chambers of the Ivorian Parliament during a congress held in Abidjan. The project received significant support from parliamentarians, with 88.53% voting in favor, totaling 301 votes for, 35 against, and 4 abstentions. Ogio Bierika has more in this report.
The bill was successfully passed with significant support, garnering 301 votes in favor, while 35 votes were against it and 4 abstained. Several articles, including Articles 90, 94, 107, 179, 180, 181 and 182 were revised to reorganize parliamentary procedures. Going forward, Parliament will hold 2 ordinary sessions annually, with one from January to June and the other from October to December. Adama Bictogo, President of the Ivorian National Assembly, has been involved in this process.
Above and beyond the issues at stake, you have been able to show the nation that the parliamentary family spirit is a shared vision in which respect, plural expression and diversity are a reality. I would like to salute the prevailing idea, which is first and foremost that of fraternity and solidarity that transcends our political affiliations.
The opposition displayed division during the voting process. The African People's Party, Côte d'Ivoire PPACI, led by former President Laurent Gbagbo, opposed the revision, while the PDCI voted in favor. One significant change brought about by this revision is the extension of the right of amendment to the President of the Republic. The President's proposed amendment will be presented by members of the government during parliamentary sessions. This reform allows the government to suggest changes to proposed text, aiming to enhance the quality of proposals and incorporate new relevant data while reducing the reliance on separate amending texts.
Ogio Bierika reporting there.
Fresh and breaking news all the time. Hear it first as the news breaks, only on West Africa Democracy Radio. NEWSLINK continues.
We head to Liberian National Coast Guard that reported on Tuesday in a firefight with pirates who had captured a Chinese vessel in Sierra Leonean waters. During the confrontation, at least 2 pirates were apprehended by the authorities. The pirates, after seizing the Chinese vessel in Sierra Leonean waters, crossed into Liberian waters, where they held the crew members hostage. WADR's Darlington Popper has this report.
The recent attack comes in the wake of a warning issued by the International Maritime Organization, highlighting the proliferation of crime syndicates in the Gulf of Guinea. This alarming trend has prompted calls for countries to take decisive actions as West Africa is increasingly becoming a hotspot for piracy. During a joint news conference, John Wale, the commander of the Liberian Coast Guard, provided insights into the rescue mission conducted to address the attack.
So on the 24th, the vessel was seen back from the VMS around the King Gray area heading towards the south of Monrovia. So we also launched from our Freeport station and also launched from our Buchanan station to be able to have them in the queue to be able to submerge them. So our Freeport station were able to visualize the vessel, and at that point in time, they decided to engage our guys. And in that point, we were able to go ahead and secure the vessel, rescuing 23 crew from on the vessel, of which 6 are Chinese national and 17 are Sierra Leone national. Of the pirates that was arrested from the vessel, 2, they were all Nigerians. 3 escaped. The other 3, we are still in search of them.
Defense Minister Prince Charles Johnson emphasized that the operation was a collaborative effort involving various partners.
ECOWAS mechanism, Liberia is capturing Zone F with countries to support in these instances. So the measure we currently have is to have also in our waters, to have our Liberian Coast Guard, those sailors on the standby for such a call. So Zone F, our headquarters is in Ghana, and there's a coordination in every country that coordinates with that headquarters in Ghana for Zone F.
On a positive note, Foreign Minister D. Maswesai Kimbian expressed gratitude to the Coast Guard for successfully rescuing the hostages boarding the vessel.
Our brothers from China, numbering 6, and from Sierra Leone, our dear neighbor and sisterly republic, numbering 17, that they could be secured from the hands of what I would consider evil element, pirates, wanting to use piracy for the purpose of their selfish gain. President, wish all of you all the best and the longest of life and prosperity.
In response to the escalating privacy threat, Liberian authorities have taken decisive action, declaring the waters of Liberia as a no-go zone for any private operations. For NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Darlington Pogba in Monrovia.
Meanwhile, as Liberians celebrate the country's 176th Independence Day today, the nation comes together under the theme, giving our people hope for a violent-free, fair, transparent, inclusive and credible elections. On the eve of today's occasion, our correspondent in Dobedia has been speaking with some citizens and various businesses in downtown Waterside to gather their perspectives and expectations for today's festivities.
How's the business? Are you getting more customers?
This July 26 is the 12th July 26 ever since we came from the war in terms of its celebration to the Liberian people. I can tell you for free, you see in the market, normally when July is coming, the population can walk in Waterside so easily, but you see everybody here are swinging, going up, coming down because no money, no business is going. Some people are afraid keeping their money because we are going to the Ottawa 10 pool.
I see a female jeans, lady jeans trousers. Yeah. So how's the business? Are you getting more customers?
The business is very much bad. The first 26 I ever see in the history of Liberia since I've been selling is the worst 26.
Why do you think customers are not coming in like before?
Because what I really understand, the people complaining about money. The financial issue is very more difficult. Everybody crying, no money. So it's making the customer we need to receive before we are not receiving our customer again.
This is our Independence Day, and we have to celebrate it. Nothing can stop us from celebrating it. It's when the country got her independence, making the country to be 176 years. So that alone is a plot to the country plus one. So we should celebrate it. In celebrating the country, we move around, we enjoy ourselves in other places, like we go on the beaches, we go to various entertainment, even we can go to the park where the president Bill, we can enjoy ourselves so many ways.
Because we believe that this government have done what it takes to reach this far. We will not be carried away to say don't celebrate a big day like this. This is our 176 years. Is it the only government that have ever celebrated a day like this? So we are grateful. We are grateful to the government. We appreciate the president for keeping the peace mainly.
Those were some voices of Liberians speaking over there. You are listening to NewsLink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM, Dakar, Senegal. Here's a reminder of our top stories. Nigerian government foils a coup attempt earlier hours of Wednesday. Ivorian Parliament approves President Ouattara's proposed constitutional revision with overwhelming majority. National Coast Guard in Liberia rescues Chinese vessel in Sierra Leonean waters, apprehends 2 pirates after intense firefight. And the Gambian President Barrow laws the activities of the country's Human Rights Commission. Still ahead, we have our newspaper review, guest interview, and some sports update. Kindly stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
It's 14 minutes past 12 in our studios. This is West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM. Don't forget to follow all our conversations on Twitter and Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Find us on YouTube at WADR News. The Gambia's National Human Rights Commission Chief, Emmanuel Diouf, on Tuesday revealed that President Adama Barrow appreciates his work, even though he occasionally makes comments that the government may not favor. Diouf also highlighted the notable achievement of the Commission while emphasizing the importance of maintaining peace in the country. Meanwhile, President Barrow is set to depart for Liberia today to participate in the celebration of the country's independence. WADR's Banjul correspondent Sankole Janko reports.
The chairman of the National Human Rights Commission of the Gambia, Emmanuel Diouf, laid his staff on a courtesy visit to the president's office. This annual visit is a part of the commission's tradition to update the Gambian leader on human rights issues in the country. Following a closed-door meeting with President Barrow, Mr. Diouf, a renowned human rights lawyer, spoke to the press about the discussions with the head of state. During the meeting, Mr. Juve briefed the president about the achievements of the National Human Rights Commission and also advocate for peace.
The National Human Rights Commission, since its existence, has made some good strides, both domestically, regionally, and internationally. And that was why, within only 3 years of our existence, we were accredited with A status by the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institution based in Geneva. We need peace for development. It has a rippling effect on all these things. So human rights is key, and as we always say, it's everybody's business.
Established by an Act of Parliament in 2017 under the Barrow administration, the NHRC is an independent body that maintains criticality towards the government when necessary.
The head of state, I would say he's a fan of the National Human Rights Institution, although, as usual, the National Human Rights Institution will say things and do things which sometimes maybe the government may not be very happy with, but this is the job of a National Human Rights Institution, to speak frankly to authority.
In another development, President Adama Barrow is scheduled to travel to Liberia on Wednesday to attend the country's independence anniversary. This visit highlights the enduring and positive relations between Banjul and Monrovia, with both countries sharing a history of strong bilateral ties dating back to the pre-independence era, when they served as repatriation destinations for freed slaves from Europe. For NEWSLINK and West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Sankula Janka reporting from Banjul.
This is the newspaper review. Stay on top of the news. Get the most important stories with added insight and concise review.
This is the newspaper review.
Let us still join Sankula Janko in Banjul for our newspaper review.
Hello and welcome to this edition of the paper review. Let's begin today's paper review with the Point newspaper, whose lead story reads, GPPA urged to set standards for local government procurement staff. Government has repatriated over 2,500 Gambian migrants since 2022, according to this other story. Let's move on to the Standard newspaper, whose lead story reads, Talib convinced me to join UDP. These words were uttered by MC Cham. MC Cham was a former youth president of Gambia Democratic Congress, GDC. He's a young politician with a lot of potentials, and he has indicated that he was convinced by the current mayor of Kanifi Municipal Council, Talib Ahmed Bensouda, to join leading opposition United Democratic Party. Social Security and Housing Finance Corporation loses 37 million shoot against Gambia Radio and Television Services. Two powerful government parastatals there. More people dragged to court for guaranteeing cruise ship crew absconders. Gambians may have joined jihadist groups in Libya. That's another story on the Point newspaper. Let's move on to the Voice newspaper. And the Voice newspaper's lead story reads, 2023 budget is not realistic, according to Honorable Sane. Suleiman Sane urges government to act on issue of poor ferry services. And Mensa Konko flouts more procurement laws. Residents of Jalamba explain ordeal. Appeal for support from Brikama Area Council amid rainy season. And now let's move on to the final newspaper for today, and that is the Fourier newspaper. Their lead story reads, Kembuje oil spill victims confirm compensation. But, well, that's the lead story on the Fourier newspaper. Former UAE ambassador appears before petition committee. Over 2,000 Gambian asylum seekers rejected in Germany, according to the Foreign Ministry. Well, this is not new, is it? And Medicine Control Agency failed to abide by laws leading to importation of contaminated syrup, says task force. Of course, this has led to the sacking of two top executives of the agency. I'm afraid these are the major stories making the headlines on Gambian dailies, and it's back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Sankule Janko, for that newspaper review.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is The Guest.
As the first nation to gain independence from the United States of America on the African continent on July 26, 1847, Liberia, which means lands of free, celebrates its 176th birthday today. This year's independence celebration theme is giving our people hope for a just, free, transparent, inclusive election as the country prepares for its October 10th elections. In this interview, our guest, Matthias Yanni, will share his observations based on citizens' expectations and concerns about their country on this remarkable day. Another critical aspect is the management and direction towards democratic principles and the gains 176 years post-independence.
Yeah, Liberia celebrates 176 years as an independent nation. And part of that is we look to where we've come from as a country that was established by free slaves. The American Colonization Society established Liberia, free slaves from America, and came to Liberia to establish this nation. Since then, there has been ups and downs, development, and so many things. But today, Liberians are taking this time to reflect on the gains that were made for the past years since the Civil War, and also taking a time to reflect on the elections that come in October 10 this year.
So let's narrow it down to the theme chosen for this year's celebration. And I read, it says, giving our people hope for a violent, free, fair, transparent, and inclusive election. So I'm asking, do you see this as a strategic one? And what clear regularities are Liberians expecting to be managed by President George Weah and authorities in his speech today?
Yes, I think this topic is a clear one. And I think that the National Elections Commission, will implement all of the rules and guidelines and laws surrounding the conduct of our elections. I also think President George Weah, our government, holds the greatest responsibility to make sure that we have a peaceful, free, fair, and transparent elections. And I think that would be a very great legacy of any leader during an electoral period or a transitional period. What we are a little bit afraid of that there may be violence, electoral violence in some quarters. There is already issue of misinformation and disinformation in our digital space. There are issues surrounding violence against women during elections. There are also issues women candidates. There are issues surrounding violence campaign. Just a few days ago, the former president of the Liberia National Bar Association, who is also contesting as president, during a gathering of his party, he was attacked by talks that accordingly were sent by the ruling establishment, to attack, its peaceful gathering. So I think these are things that we are afraid of. These are things that we see that will become also that the issue about level playing field during the electoral process. Our elections law calls that the sitting government should not use government resources to campaign or to get involved into political processes. Few days ago or a week ago, there was a thank you rally by the CDC, and we saw government officials using government vehicles to carry, partisans of the ruling establishment to the party headquarters for the thank you rally. We think these things are troubling. These are abuse of incumbency. These are abuse of our electoral laws. These are also abuse of regulations that are clearly spelled out for our electoral processes.
Okay, so finally, what would be your admonishment to all citizens as we celebrate your Independence Day today?
Thank you. And so as we celebrate this Independence Day, I will ask all Liberians to remain calm and peaceful. We have nowhere to go. This is our home. And so we should keep the peace and maintain the peace. And happy independence to all Liberians in Liberia and around West Africa.
Matthias Yane is a Liberian citizen and civil society activist from IRED, Liberia. And to some sports update, two-time African champions Enyimba of Nigeria are drawn against Libya's Ali Benghazi in the opening round of the 2023-2024 Total Energies CAF Champions League following the draw on Tuesday. The first leg for the tie is on 18th to 20th August 2023, and the two-time African champions Enyimba will host the return fixture a week later. The winner of the tie will play Cameroon's Coton Sport or Ivory Coast ESSEC Mimosa in the second round. Ghana's Remo will take on Horoya of Guinea in all West African affair. And that is it for some sports update. We have come to the end of this edition of NewsLink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to our listeners in the Gambia via New Me FM 94.0, North Bank, Hot 104.3 FM, and Radio Veritas 102.9 FM Banjul. In Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM Lofa County. We also thank our listeners in Ghana on Radio Pad 95.1 Damongo, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Puno region. Inyas Bilimu has been on the console. Many thanks to Mustafa Sek for our Facebook Live coverage. Do interact with us via social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram @WDR News, and on Facebook West Africa Democracy Radio English Service. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is a rebroadcast of our agenda program 50-50 with Atia Win in Bella Lawson. I am James Ajapon. Good afternoon.
News, talk, music. Get it all 24 hours on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar.